Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are going to completely change the way you interact with artificial intelligence. Right now, there's this massive myth floating around that getting good results from AI is all about finding a magic sentence. Some secret perfect string of words that suddenly unlocks the ultimate answer. And honestly, if you've ever felt like you're just playing a super frustrating guessing game, typing in request after request and getting totally mixed results, well, you are definitely not alone. But today, we are debunking that myth entirely. We're going to transform AI prompting from a random pull-the-lever slot machine into a repeatable, highly effective design discipline. Let's get into it. Here is our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll go beyond the magic sentence. Second, we'll break down the anatomy of a strong prompt. Third, we'll look at weak versus strong prompts side by side. Fourth, we'll cover the 5-part practice. And finally, number 5, we'll show you how to build your very own prompt library. Okay, let's dive straight into part 1, Beyond the Magic Sentence. We really need to stop treating the AI like it's a magic 8-ball. Relying on a trick phrase or some one-time hack, that's an amateur habit. Instead, we have to adopt a professional mindset, which means treating prompting as a repeatable model, a structured request, and a testable design. The whole goal here is to move entirely away from just hoping for a good result to actually engineering one. So, what is a prompt really? At its core, a good prompt is essentially a small operating model. It's that vital interface between your human intent and the machine's behavior. And I want you to remember this golden rule. When the prompt is vague, the AI fills in the gaps. And spoiler alert, it usually fills them with things you don't want. But when your prompt acts like an operating model, when it clearly defines who the AI is, the task, the context, the constraints, and the format, the AI has significantly less room to guess. Moving right along to section 2, the anatomy of a strong prompt. Let's look under the hood. Think of these 5 core elements as your absolute essential prompt engineering toolkit. First up, the instruction. This tells the model exactly what to do. Second, context. This explains the situation, or specifically who the audience is. Third is input data. You're providing the actual material to work from, so the AI isn't just pulling ideas out of thin air. Fourth, constraints, and this is a huge one, setting strict boundaries like do not invent facts. And fifth, output format, defining the exact shape of the answer you want back. Every single strong prompt tells the AI what to do, what to use, what not to do, and what shape to return. But hey, how will we know if the answer is actually good once the AI spits it out? Well, that is exactly where quality criteria come in. Think of this as your final quality assurance check for your operating model. By defining your criteria up front, like ensuring it's facts only, it's concise, or it's genuinely usable by executives, you give yourself a clear rubric to evaluate the AI's output. If it comes back and it's not easy to scan, simple, the prompt needs tweaking. All right, section 3, weak versus strong prompts. Let's see exactly what happens when we start closing those gaps for the AI. We have all been guilty of typing an incredibly dismissive, weak prompt like, summarize this, right? The problem is the AI has to guess the audience, it has to guess the length, and it has to guess the format. Now, contrast that with a deliberate, structured prompt. Summarize the text below for a senior manager who has 5 minutes to read it. Bam, that's context. Use 5 bullets. That's format. Include only facts, constraints. End with 3 action items in a table. Format again. Explicitly setting these parameters leaves literally 0 room for the AI to guess. Let's look at another one. Take a vague request like, make this better. Better how exactly? And for who? A beautifully repaired version provides the audience, professionals, and sets a really strict constraint. Keep the original meaning and do not add new facts. Doing this completely prevents the AI from hallucinating or shifting your intent. Plus, asking for a short list of what changed at the very end, that's a brilliant way to quickly audit the AI's work. Finally, consider the prompt, "Tell me about AI." I mean, that is a one-way ticket to a dense, rambling Wikipedia-style page that you probably won't read. But if we repair it, beginner audience, fewer than 300 words, use 1 analogy, 3 bullets, and 1 example at work. Look at that. It instantly upgrades a generic, useless output into a highly targeted, educational asset that you can actually use right away. Let's zoom out a bit now. Section 4, the 5-part practice. A massive part of a strong prompting practice is what the source material calls a format swap. Basically, you take the exact same task, but you literally just change the shape of the answer depending on what you need. A bullet summary is perfect if you're prepping an executive briefing. But say you need to weigh some trade-offs, ask for a comparison table instead.
Need to track actions for a project? Mandate a markdown checklist. Swapping formats allows you to perfectly tailor the AI's output to fit seamlessly into your specific daily workflows. It ends up saving you an unbelievable amount of time.
And remember, creating a great prompt is almost never a one-and-done deal. It's a very iterative cycle. First, you design by writing clear instructions using that anatomy we just learned. Second, when the AI inevitably gives a slightly off answer, you diagnose why, like did you forget a constraint? Third, you refine it through testing. Fourth, evaluate it against your quality criteria. And step 5, reuse it by saving it for next time. Which brings us nicely to our final section, number 5, build your prompt library. The ultimate goal here is to make sure you never have to write a good prompt from scratch twice. Here's the journey of taking a single idea and turning it into a lasting asset for your library. You draft your structured prompt, you test it out on real input, like actual meeting notes or data, you diagnose where the AI drifted away from your intent, you refine those constraints and formats, and crucially, you save it. You store the version and the specific use case so it is ready to go for you next week, next month, or even ready to share with your wider team. Now, here is a really critical lesson from the source material. Reuse is not just copy and paste, it is disciplined adaptation. When you save a prompt into your library, you need a template kind of like this one. Sure, you save the prompt text itself, but you also save the use case, the specific inputs needed, the output format, and your quality criteria. A saved prompt has to carry the context of exactly when it works and what inputs it actually needs to succeed. And hey, if you want to geek out and take your library to the absolute next level, the source material highlights some really top-tier external resources. Whether you check out the OpenAI Prompt Engineering Guide for writing clear instructions, the Anthropic Overview for model-specific tuning, the Google Gemini strategies, or even the short courses from deeplearning.ai, these are incredible places to dive deeper into advanced techniques and iterative refinement. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've moved away from the guessing game of magic sentences and built a foundation for repeatable, structured models. So I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative question directly from our source material. What is one work task you can turn into a reusable prompt this week? Seriously, take a look at your calendar, find a repetitive task you have to do anyway, apply those 5 core elements, and build your very first library asset. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy prompting.